everyone. Welcome back to Virtual Sunday School. This week to help us tell our story are Parker and Joey.
My name is Parker and I'm 4 and I like to go to the park. Hey, Joey. For a month ago we celebrated Easter. God made Jesus alive again. God couldn't stay on earth forever.
It's time for Jesus to join God in heaven. So we're going to use our light to represent that. So that light is the light of Jesus. Jesus went to say goodbye to his disciples, but his disciples were very sad because he said, I'm going to leave. And they didn't want him to leave. And so then Jesus ascended into heaven, and to the disciples, not having Jesus there felt like the candle had been blown out. So there you go.
I saw.
That's right. And that's what the disciples felt like. They felt like Jesus was gone, like a candle that had been blown out.
Mama.
So just like Joey was sad when the flame went off, so were the disciples. They were so sad, but it had to happen. Jesus had to ascend and go into heaven, and so the way they experienced Jesus was just a little bit different.
Then what happened?
Were the disciples sad forever?
No.
No, I don't think so. The next thing that happened to them was almost unbelievable. I really miss Jesus.
I really miss Jesus. Me too. I'm waiting for the gift God promised.
Suddenly, a mighty wind filled the whole room. Then what looked like the flames of fire came to rest on them. They were filled with the Holy Spirit. We might think the disciples would be afraid, but instead they were excited. The disciples told each other about Jesus and that God raised Jesus from the dead. The people from all the different countries could understand them even though they spoke in different languages.
What do we do now?
Peter then moved to the center of the table and answered them.
Change your ways.
Be baptized.
Be baptized. You'll be clean and new, and you'll receive the Holy Spirit.
This was when the Christian church was born. We call that day Pentecost. Woo! God's promise for you and for your children and for everyone God calls. With the power of the Holy Spirit, go into the world and tell everyone of the wonderful things God and Jesus have done. And so the disciples went, and they went to all corners of the world, and they told as many people as they could about the power of Jesus and the Holy Spirit. Well, friends, that's our story for the day. Thank you, Parker, for helping us tell this story. So before we go, I have a question for you. Did you know that the church's birthday has a special name? Pentecost, that's right. Maybe friends at home can practice saying that. Let's say it together. So it's Pentecost. So let's say that all together. Ready? Pentecost. Pentecost is the birthday of not our church at Central, but the Christian church. So Parker, we learned a lot of really fun new things today, and I'm curious, what is something that you learned that was new today?
We went up that God, Jesus went up to heaven.
You learned that Jesus went up to heaven. That's a good one. I learned that God gave us the gift, gave the disciples a special gift, and that gift was the Holy Spirit and the church. All right, friends, I hope you stay and check out the activity with Miss Ellie. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, Miss Ellie here. It's good to see you. I miss you. I look forward to the days when we can get back together again. In fact, we're getting the Sunday school classrooms ready to maybe see you this fall. But in the meantime, I got a little message for you, and it's about what's happening this Sunday, which is Pentecost. Pentecost is an important holiday in the church. It is called the birthday of the church. Happy birthday, church! Actually, it was my daughter Meg's birthday. But we'll celebrate the birthday of the church, too. It's not just the birthday of Central Methodist Church, our church. It's the birthday of all churches, all Christian churches. Started on this day way back a long time ago. It's a true story, and I'll read you the story from the Bible. Now, this was just after Easter, just after Jesus had died and came back to life, and then he went up to heaven. The apostles were wondering, now what do we do? When the day of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Suddenly, a sound like the blowing of a violent wind came from heaven and filled the whole house where they were sitting. They saw what seemed to be tongues of fire that separated them and came to rest on each of them. All of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit enabled them. Wow, that sounds like an interesting day at the apostles' house. So what happened first? First there was a big wind, kind of like a really loud wind. That was the coming of the Holy Spirit. That was the first time we saw the Holy Spirit. Jesus said it was coming, and he came to the apostles, and they were filled with this Holy Spirit. Then what happened? These flames came on top of them, like this. Like little fires on top of them, not on top of their hair burning it, but just above their heads. And they were on fire for Jesus. They were on fire for God. And then they were so excited that they wanted to tell people about what had happened to them and what had happened to Jesus and their whole story. So they went out in the streets, and there were people in Jerusalem from all different countries who spoke all different languages, and they wondered, how can we speak to these people and tell them the good news? Well, the Holy Spirit enabled them to talk in different languages. So they didn't have to know Spanish or Hebrew. Whatever they said, the people understood. So they went outside and told some people, and those people told some people, and those people told some people, and those people told some people, until there were a whole lot of people that knew the story about Jesus, his life, his lessons, and how he died and came back to life and went to heaven. And they told them that they could have that too if they just believed in Jesus. Now, as these people started to believe, they started to meet together. They wanted to talk more about it, so they might get together at someone's house, they might get together at a school, and they talked about Jesus, and they learned about his teachings, and soon they started meeting regularly, and those became the first churches. And those churches grew, and those churches grew, and they grew and grew and grew, till we had churches all over the world. But it all started on the day of Pentecost, and that is why we celebrate it in our church. And one thing we do, we won't be together this Pentecost, but one thing we always do when we are together is we wear red. And that is symbolic of the flame and the color of passion and the color of fire, because we are on fire for Jesus. Thank you for visiting with me. I will see you soon.